Hello and welcome to another update of COVID-19 from Shenzhen, China. Today it is 23 degrees and clear. Lovely day. Okay, so a number of you seem to be very interested in the jumpers that I wear on a daily basis. So I'm sporting a nice orange number for you today. To be honest, I'm getting to the point where I'm running out of different jumpers to wear every day, so I might have to start repeating some quite soon. Anyway, on to today's numbers. So within China, we have confirmed cases at 77,041, 2,445 deaths, and 22,907 people recovered. Take away the recovered and people who've died, and that leaves us an active confirmed cases of 51,689. 83% of all the confirmed cases are in Hubei province. Other provinces which have more than 1,000 cases are Guangdong, have 1,342 confirmed and 596 active. Henan with 1,271 confirmed and 391 active. Zhejiang with 1,205 confirmed and 475 active. And Hunan with 1,016 and 308 active. In my particular city of Shenzhen, I think it's now the third or fourth day where we don't have any new reported cases. So today again, 0 reported new cases, which is great news. Global figures. Okay, so there's been quite a sharp increase in global figures outside of China in the last couple of days. We now have 1,722 confirmed, 17 deaths, and 187 people recovered. The active cases outside of China are 1,518. Notable increases are Japan with an additional 25, South Korea with another 210, taking their total to 556. Italy have an additional 56, taking their total to 79, and Iran have reported another 10, taking their total to 28. Iran have also reported 6 deaths, which seems to be much higher than other areas. Okay, now death rates versus recovery rates. Now for each of the 3 areas, I've got 2 figures for each of these. The first one is people who've either died or recovered against each other, so that doesn't include anybody who currently still has the virus. And the second figures include calculations are based on people who still have the virus. So first to Hubei. Deaths are 13.3% and recoveries are 86.7%. For the second set of figures, deaths are 3.66% and recoveries are 23.87%. China excluding Hubei, first figures are death rate is 1.28%. and the recovery rate is 98.72%. Second set of figures, death rates are 0.76% and recovery are 58.72%. And then globally, first figures, death rate is 8.33%, recovery rate is 91.67%. On the second set of calculations, the death rate is 0.99% and the recovery rate is 10.86%. Obviously there's some difference from the rates outside of China at the moment because the cases have spiked so much, so we don't have as much data or as much length of time, so you need to bear that in mind when you're comparing these figures. So regarding the cruise ship, the Diamond Princess, A woman that was sort of given the all clear has now been tested positive for the virus. Personally, I think that as time went on and each day cases were identified, I personally think the quarantine period should have started again. To be honest, I really have no idea what the authorities in Japan were doing keeping everybody on that ship. I guess it's because they probably didn't have enough facilities to deal with everybody if they unloaded them from the ship, which is quite surprising because everybody sort of sees Japan as a very sort of forward developed country. I think what would have been better is if countries around the world with passengers on that ship right from the start had started evacuating the passengers from that ship and then quarantining them back in their own countries. Personally, I think that would have been a much better way to deal with it. But hindsight is always a magnificent thing, and I guess the Japanese authorities dealt with it at the time how they thought was the best, but it now appears that that was a very, very bad idea. And I can certainly see the cruise industry taking a real hit now. I mean, let's face it, who'd want to go on a cruise ship right now? I mean, cruise ships are always well known for spreading, there's been many cases where there's been nova viruses on ships, and they've spread very quickly because everybody is so close together. They're all using the same air conditioning system, the same sewage system, XYZ, similar to how the outbreak in 2003 spread in a Hong Kong tower block through the sewage system. Also, it now turns out that 23 passengers were allowed to leave the ship without testing. This was due to a mistake in procedures when they were disembarking the ship. Apparently those 23 passengers have now been contacted and asked to have a quarantine for 14 days at home. There still remains a few passengers and over 1,000 crew members on board that ship. So now on to the main part, which I sort of mentioned in the title of this video. So a study, although it is not yet peer reviewed, is suggesting that the virus may have been introduced into the Wuhan seafood market from somewhere else. A team of researchers from South China Agricultural University and another institution in Yunnan have analysed DNA sequences of 93 samples of early infected patients from 12 different countries. The samples had 58 genetic markers, haplotype 13 and 38, which are correlated with coronavirus in bats. However, the patients with haplotypes 13 and 38 were from Washington and Shenzhen, and none of those haplotypes were found in patient samples from Wuhan. So this raises questions whether the virus did indeed originate in Wuhan. The study also suggests that human-to-human transmission may have started as early as November. I do, however, stress at this point that the paper has not yet been peer reviewed. And this is why it's very, very important that they try to track down patient 0 so they can look at the DNA sequences in that patient. This will give a lot of sort of clues into where the virus originally started or where it originally came from. But as of yet, I believe they haven't been able to track down patient 0. The city of Harbin in Heilongjiang province has had 4 of its districts sort of locked down and put into a sort of quarantine. Harbin is the capital city of Heilongjiang province, has a population of around 10 million and is a major commercial centre for northern China. So that authorities there are really trying their best to try and stop the further spread of the virus in that city. So South Korea have seen an increase of another 123 cases overnight, taking their total now to 556 confirmed cases. And they have the most reported cases outside of China. That does exclude Japan, but a lot of Japan's reported cases were cases from the Diamond Princess cruise ship. Korea's Prime Minister has said the country is entering a grave situation with the spread of the virus. South Korea have also informed Israel that a group of tourists that were in Israel and the West Bank have tested positive upon their return to South Korea. I believe there was apparently 9 tourists in that group. South Korean authorities are also trying to trace many thousands of people who attended services at the church where one of the outbreaks occurred. So far they've managed to trace only a few hundred of those people, and it's said that an additional 500 of those people from that church are also seeing symptoms of the virus occur. To Italy now. Italy have seen cases rise to 79 in the last couple of days. They have locked down now about 12 villages, and they have quarantined hundreds of people who've been in contact with those 79. However, they are still struggling to find the source of the outbreak. The World Health Organization are also starting to get concerned about outbreaks of clusters around the world where there is no trace back to China. Also, more news from WHO. A team of experts from the World Health Organization will be visiting the epicenter of the virus over the next few days. And now to Iran. Iran have reported 10 new cases, taking their total to 28. Iran had no cases 3 or 4 days ago. They now have a total of 28. However, they have 6 deaths. This is kind of a little strange. So I can draw one of two conclusions from this. Either Iran has far more cases than they are reporting, which could be a possibility, as the leaders yesterday suggested it's probably now in every city, or the virus in Iran is somehow mutating and becoming more deadly. I think we will see on the Iranian reporting over the next few days. Cases have also been now reported in Lebanon, and they are strongly believed to be cases that have been transmitted from Iran. Chinese authorities have sent a number of cruise ships to Wuhan to help accommodate all the extra medical workers that are there. Personally, I'm not really sure whether that's a good idea, considering what's just happened on the Diamond Princess. It only needs 1 or 2 of those health workers aboard those cruise ships to be infected, and it will spread to many others. Let's hope that they have some strict procedures for the health workers that will accommodate themselves on those ships. Also, because a previously discharged patient that was given the all clear has found to be reinfected in Wuhan. Now, when patients are discharged from hospital, they must self-quarantine at home for a further 14 days before being given the all clear. I think it's apparent that some of the characteristics of this virus are very, very strange, in the sense that, you know, people seem to be able to have the illness, seem to be recovered, then later be reinfected, or the infection comes back. Unfortunately, there's not enough data yet, but as time goes on and we get more data, we will start to learn more about this virus. So that brings me to the end of today's update. I would like to say a massive thank you to all those people who are supporting our channel. I want to explain one little thing. Most of the videos on this subject are getting a limited monetization, which means we earn around 10 to 20% of what we would normally make from a video. And that's because many advertisers don't want to put their advertising against this subject matter. So a really big thank you to the people who are supporting us, either on WeChat, on Buy Me a Coffee, or on Patreon. If you do want to support us, the links are all in the description, and I'll put the graphics on the screen for a little bit now. It's not a problem if you don't want to support us, but if you do, it's very much appreciated. And if you like this video, please give us a thumbs up. It really helps our algorithm, helps us get out there. If you like the channel, please consider subscribing. There'll be a lot more content both on this subject and many other subjects to come in the future. And if you're really into us and you want to know as soon as we got a new video out there, hit those bells. But in the meantime, catch you next time. As always, take care.